Good evening. This is the Marion City Council. Today is March 7th. If you would, we'll call our meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Draper?
Here.
Ms. Atkins? Here. Mr. Jensen?
Here.
Mayor Abu-Osley? Mr. Sternad?
Present.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Ms. Gedalia? Here. Here.
Thank you. If you would, please, we'll honor a moment of silence. Thank you. Just for the record, the mayor is on the way. He's got caught in traffic, so our apologies with that, but he'll be here with us momentarily, so thank you. Going into the proclamations and oaths, we have none of those this evening. Presentations, this is something that we set aside for just that. We have nothing scheduled, which puts us into the public forum. This is an opportunity for comments from the public on topics listed on the agenda that's not associated with any of the public hearings. Is there anyone that wishes to speak before the City Council? Seeing none, we'll continue forward. Thank you. Ms. Gedalia.
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, including items A1 through F2, and those are also including resolutions 27478 through 27487.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. This will be items including A1 through F2, resolutions 27478 through 27487. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll move forward. All those in favor?
Aye.
I apologize, I momentarily delayed there. All of those in favor say aye, please.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Thank you. So moved. Thank you.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abu-Osley's abstention, including D1 through F2, resolutions 27488 through 27491.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abu-Osley's abstention. This will be including items D1 through F2, resolutions number 27488 through 27491. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All of those opposed say no. Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, this brings us into the regular agenda under the Administration Services. This will be the public hearing regarding the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone that wishes to come forward and speak before the council in favor of this proposed budget? Is there anyone who wishes to approach the council that is not in favor or has any other questions about the proposed budget? Seeing none, we will go ahead and close the public hearing. At this time, I will relinquish the meeting back over to the mayor.
All right. Your Honor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 27492, approving the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27492, approving the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. Discussion?
Which option are
Yes.
Yeah, Your Honor, I'd make a motion to amend this resolution to approve draft number 3, option B, that was presented on Tuesday.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the resolution to read as approving the option B for the budget that was presented by staff. Do we need more detail than that, Lon, or do we just say option B?
I would just clarify that the most significant impact from moving from the published budget to option B is a reduction in the property tax rate from the published rate of $14.23 to $14.22, a flat rate from the current fiscal year.
Okay, so the amendment is for the option that does not increase the
Property tax levy
property
rate.
tax levy rate.
Correct.
Okay, that's clear to everyone? Okay, any discussion on the amendment? Okay, all those in favor of amending the motion as stated, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. So the motion is now amended. The resolution number 27492 will now be for approval of the 2019-2020 budget for option B of the budget, which does not increase the property tax levy rate. Okay, that's the resolution as it reads now, as amended. Any discussion on the amended resolution?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
We, just for the people who are here or who are listening, we had quite a lengthy discussion on Tuesday about all of these options, but perhaps before we vote, the city manager could just go through exactly what, other than the flat rate, what we're getting in that budget, some of the highlights.
Sure.
Yeah,
Hang on.
great idea.
This one? Finding the right slide.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. So the highlights of the budget with the fiscal year 20 budget, option B as selected, allows the city to proceed forward with quite a few different strategic initiatives. First and foremost would be the anticipated completion of the next fire station, the third station for the city, even though it will be renamed as the Central Station or First Fire Station out on Tower Terrace Road. It does contain funding for continuing to move the Eco-Industrial Park project forward with the potential construction of the new public services facility. So those are the two largest initiatives in there, but it does contain quite a few other pieces that would be aimed at helping us to continue to mature as an organization, but also what I would characterize as efficiency and cost-saving initiatives. One of the first ones would be to do an update of the city's strategic plan. As the council knows, we're seeking additional guidance from the council on what your priorities are going to be for the organization moving forward. We have funding for the completion of a compensation and classification study to help us true up our benefits and salaries with the wider job market. That will also tie into the completion of a 5-year financial plan for the community. We also have funding for updating our comprehensive plan, which was last done in 2008 and needs to be updated to reflect where we are now from where we were then. We have funding in there for the next round of the National Citizen Survey. We do this every 2 years as an instrument to go out and gauge the feeling of the citizens about how we're doing as an organization and what they'd like us to focus on. And then for some of the smaller projects, more internal ones, we are looking at changes to the way that we manage our agendas, not only for City Council, but when you consider that we've got 20-plus boards and commissions, and all of them work with agendas and packets as well. This is something that could really streamline the way that we do business and provide more public access to information. We have process improvements, better utilizing some of the software that we have. One of the ones I think we're most looking forward to is that we have a budget in there to expand our free community events for the benefit of Marion. Those have been very successful out at Lau Park so far, but we have additional funding in there for that. And then along with all those and a payroll automation initiative, we do have several new positions proposed. This would be the what I'd call the penultimate round of hiring for the fire station to allow us to fully staff the new station when we have it opened, and to build out the management structure that we need across the newly expanded department. We have 4 positions that would land in the police department. One would be a lead communications operator for an expansion of the communications staff, a civilian position to take over the property evidence and evidence technician position, which is currently being done by a sworn officer. That allows us to redeploy that officer out into patrol or whatever other position the department would decide to utilize them. 2 new and additional police officers on top of that, and then an accountant position in finance, a tech position in the urban forest utility, and 1 more equipment operator in public service. Along with those positions, there are 2 positions that are proposed to be upgraded from permanent part-time to full-time in the Parks Department, which adds about 10 hours per week to those 2 positions. And then the last one that's included in there is we have a proposed HR director position that would be the latest hire throughout the course of the year.
Just to thank you for that. And so almost, or a majority of the departments are touched in terms of hiring and growth, correct?
Correct.
In that, okay. I think that's all I had. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I think one other thing to notice, to communicate to the public so that they understand, is that even though our property tax rate is remaining flat for the year, there will be a resulting slight increase in the property tax bill anyway, and that's because the property tax rollback is actually increasing for that fiscal year compared to the current fiscal year. So our property tax levies stay in the same, but there will be a slight increase as a result of how that property tax rollback is going to be determined for the 2020 year.
Yeah, each year the state changes the amount of a house that people are taxed on. It's something that's outside of our control, and it's tied to other classifications of property, so it does tend to float a bit from year to year. And in recent years, it's actually been relatively stable, so you're talking fairly small numbers in the grand scheme of things, but there are years it's jumped 9 or 10%, and those are the ones that are really tough to accommodate.
Okay, other questions or discussion?
I would
Yes,
just,
ma'am.
one more thing. So again, for the people who might be listening to this or who are here, this budget process is more robust than it's been in the past. Numerous, I can't even tell you how many staff hours have been put in on this from the departments on up. I know that we have had a couple of, half-day or all-day meetings. A lot of thought has gone into this. I don't know how anyone else is planning to vote, but I can tell you that the way that I plan to vote, I feel very good about. I feel like it's justifiable for all that we're getting. We're a city that's growing everywhere you look. We have a lot of great amenities, which is why we're continually winning awards and being ranked as a great place to live, and you get what you pay for. So this is the other end of what goes with all of the great things about Marion. So just wanted to say that about, I feel really good about the process and where we're at with the budget and what we're going to get for it. So thanks, everybody.
Other discussion? Yeah, I will add to what Councilwoman Gadela just said, that having been on the council for a number of years, I'm sure those who also have been, Will and Paul, will agree that this was a year where the most thought, at least on the part of the council, has gone into, as a whole, has gone into the budgeting process, and really a lot of good discussion of what the needs are and why we're doing what we're doing. So the vote tonight and the decision on adopting this budget is based on well-founded reasoning, well-founded contemplation, and lots of thought and lots of consideration. It's never a perfect thing, and it's always a very difficult and complex process, but I think we can all feel good about what we've accomplished as a group. So if there's no further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor of resolution number 27492 as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion is approved.
Yes, Your Honor, I move to receive and file and discuss a request to add no parking to one side of First Street from 29th Avenue to 33rd Avenue.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Councilman Sternad and seconded by Councilman Jensen to approve the motion to receive, file, and discuss the request to add no parking to one side of First Street from 29th Avenue to 33rd Avenue. Discussion on that motion? Are you here on this issue? Would you like to address the council? Okay, if you can, just for a few minutes. Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Hello, Council and Mayor.
Yeah.
I'm here to represent the citizens on First Street who have signed my petition to act in the parking on one side of the street. And the reason that we are asking for this is numerous. Do you want me to hand this or just put it there? That's my petition from the citizens.
I think you can give it to the clerk when you're.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. And when you're, would you just state your name and address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
Tina Stewart, and I live at 3198 First Street.
Okay, and when you're finished, if you wouldn't mind filling out the yellow card there?
Oh,
You already have it. Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Thank you.
So the reason that I'm here today for that reason is we've noticed that it's quite congested as far as the street that I live on is very narrow. And right now they allow parking on both sides of the street, which we've really noticed this winter with all the snow and everything has become even worse than normal. And the street plow went multiple times, tried to come down the street and was unable to come all the way down to the street because of the fact that the two cars were parked on either side on the street. And so he came to my house and then he had to back all the way up to 33rd because he was not able to come successfully down the street. And also buses are having difficulties coming down the street with the parking on both sides. And also, and emergency vehicles would also have a difficulty. And so we're wanting to have it so that it's only on one side of the street, especially hopefully on the side that does not have the street mailboxes, because multiple times people will park in front of the mailboxes and you won't get mail. As the U.S. Postal Service does not deliver if they can't access the mailboxes on the street. And so that's why I'm hoping to enact this.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate your coming in person. And the motion tonight is to receive and file your request and your petition, and then it will be referred to the Traffic Advisory Committee. Is that correct?
The way it's written right now, it does not go to the TAC.
Oh.
What I would recommend doing is on the next council meeting, we'll receive and file the actual petition that she just gave us.
And
And
refer
that
it to
would
TAC?
refer to TAC.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go through a process of going through a committee that reviews the request and then makes a recommendation to the council, and then we'll vote. We'll vote on your request. Okay, so we'll send it through the process. Okay, thanks so much for coming in. Okay, any discussion on this motion? Yes, Mr. Brandt.
I was just curious how many households were on that petition.
I just looked at it, and it looks like about 14.
14 different households?
Some of the writing is equivalent to mine, so interpreting the addresses is a little difficult.
Probably better.
but, yeah.
Okay.
Other discussion on the receive and file? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to receive and file, the request for no parking on First Street from 29th Avenue to 33rd Avenue, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, the motion is approved. Mr. Brandt.
Yes, Your Honor, I make a motion to receive, file, and discuss the TAC report regarding a request to add a no parking extension or enforcement along Saddleback Road. It's Darren Fullerton, 365 Saddleback Road.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to receive, file, and discuss the Traffic Advisory Committee report regarding a request to add no parking extension or enforcement along Saddleback Road. Is that written correctly?
That's how
No
their
parking
letter was written.
extension or enforcement? What does that mean?
That's how their letter was written, so that's how I wrote the resolution. They either want it to be enforced or extended. So they're saying either take the signs down or
I see.
enforce it.
Okay. So the motion is to receive and file and discuss this, this report. So, discussion on the motion. Yes, sir. Mr. Jensen.
Yeah, my discussion on, I think I made it pretty clear, at least what my opinion is, on the no parking sign request. My opinion goes not related to this particular area. It's the same as it relates to First Street that was just talked about, but that certainly I would never be in favor of putting up no parking signs on a street or a number of streets based on one person coming through with that recommendation, that it would apply to an entire neighborhood. I also feel that, you know, the situation that we are seeing this winter with the narrow streets, again, that applies to hundreds of miles in all the streets throughout Marion. So my street has the same problem as your street in that they're all about 7 foot narrower, and if there are cars parked anywhere, you have that problem. Thirdly, there is a new policy being looked at, and again, it'd be my recommendation that we consider tabling all these requests about no parking until that ordinance, or excuse me, until that policy comes through so that we can have a little clearer picture perhaps on what we can do more throughout the entire city.
Okay. Ms. Gadilla.
Yeah, I would agree with that, not just for these two, but I think we just need to have something to refer to whenever this comes up. You know, we're building new developments, the street widths vary, there are so many considerations, and I don't want to look at these on a case-by-case basis with at least not having a policy to fall back on to guide us. Our attorney was, I think, I'm sorry, Kara, I don't know your last name, I'm trying to be official, but Kara, I believe, is working on this now. I don't know if you can add anything to this, what you're looking at, or how close you are to being able to give something.
Well, I started out working on this as a policy specifically for tax requests, and it has kind of expanded into a policy for dealing with correspondence for the city overall, so that's kind of what the delay is there. So I talked to Dave Hockett this morning about what community development might want to see to address some of their requests as well, so that if you go through and notice, like every time we get a piece of mail or email or request, we add that to the agenda, and that just isn't something that's necessary, but the tax specifically will address what they need to do before it goes to the committee. And that I would anticipate, if I get some time to sit down and work on that, I would hope to have that over to the staff who need to review it next week. That's my hope, anyway. I'm also a little bit tied up with some other priority projects at the moment.
But are you, when you're looking at this policy and the, you know, parking on one side, et cetera, are you looking at things like the width of the road and the size of the property? I mean, will we have those different, because we're all over the place as a city, so I'm just wondering how prescriptive
I think you're confusing two policies, so I'll let Mike speak to that one.
So right now, we have an existing ordinance that basically states any new street that's built will only have parking on one side unless it's built wide enough to have parking on both sides.
Okay.
So we already have that policy in effect. What we're looking at right now is, for example, the first request of First Avenue, or First Street. So what the policy is going to state is something like, if we get a request like that and it's one person requesting it, they're going to have to get a petition that X number of % of the citizens are going to have to support that. If they don't, it dies. If they get the support of everyone else, then it would be received and sent to TAC. TAC's the one that's going to look at where the mailboxes, where the fire hydrants, meet with police and fire and everybody else that's on TAC and decide and give that recommendation. And that's going to be a case by case, and that's how it's going to work. Unless you want to do a blanket ordinance that says no parking on one side of the street everywhere in Marion, and this room's going to be full of people.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering how you guys will, as long as you have some kind of formula or whatever that you're
Right,
looking
and that
at.
way we're not spending staff time because one person requested a $20,000 traffic study that we have to do because one person requested it and no one else cares.
Right, okay.
So that's all the policy is doing, is making sure that we have enough citizens that actually want this to proceed before we're spending staff time doing it. That's all the policy is going to do. Then, when it goes to TAC, we will look at it. What's the street width? What's a car? All that stuff. Should be no parking on both sides? Should be just parking on one side? That's what TAC does. So there won't be a set policy on that. It'll just be a recommendation to you.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Draper?
Which side of the street the mailboxes are going on?
The United States Post Office, which we have no control over.
Do they dictate to us which
Yeah,
side on?
I mean, new subdivisions that get built are the clusters, so they don't let the single mailboxes go in anymore. They have to be the cluster mailboxes now. But the U.S. Post Office determines all that. And unfortunately, they're an agency that's above the city that I can't regulate them.
They're in charge.
That's
Yep.
two layers above you.
Any further discussion on this? Okay, so this motion is simply to receive, file, and discuss. So, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to notify the property owners along West Williams, Battle Creek Drive, Saddleback Road, Bent Creek Drive, Kinderhook Lane, and Pinehurst Drive, and to prepare the resolutions to extend no parking on one side of the street for the March 21st, 2019 City Council meeting.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to direct staff to notify the property owners along West Williams, Battle Creek Drive, Saddleback Road, Bent Creek Drive, Kinderhook Lane, and Pinehurst Drive, and prepare resolutions to extend no parking on one side of the street for the March 21st meeting. Okay? So, any discussion on this motion?
No, my opinion's clear.
So, at that meeting, you would,
I would not be in favor of having staff
Right.
do this based upon what we just discussed until the
So-
new policy comes out.
okay, so,
I'm gonna make a motion.
Go ahead.
Your Honor, at this time, I would like to make a motion to table this particular line item until further review from legal counsel and establishing some type of city policy.
Second.
okay, so it's been moved and seconded to table this motion,
Paul's beeping.
which I think makes sense before we ask the staff to spend time on it if we want to wait.
Yeah, and actually, I don't think we have a motion here. It's just moving it and directing it to staff on this one.
Right, so the motion is to table directing it to staff.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Right,
Yep.
all right.
Little recess there for a minute.
Take 5.
While we're waiting, Kara, did you say, I'm just trying to put a little bit of a timeline with this because it is not my intent to push this out and create delay, but to give the city time to get our stuff in order here, so to speak?
I'm about halfway through the main part of the policy, so I'm adding the details in now. I've had the information I need from engineering since for about a month on their end, and I just approached community development today, so that's not on them at all. That's me. But it would be my hope that sometime next week I would have my first draft of the policy over to the staff that need to review it, and then if they have changes, I'll have that edited, and I think it would be pretty reasonable to say that this would be on the next agenda.
Perfect, thank you. And again, too, I just want to reiterate, it's not our intention to delay this, but I think it's critical to establish some kind of conduit, and then I think we'll certainly be looking forward to these future items coming back through a normal procedure that would have some concurrent action to it, so we don't have these coming through on an individual basis. So, thank you.
Mayor, can I verify, who seconded the motion to table? Was there a second on that?
Ms. Gadela did.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? I think it makes sense that before we take any of these actions to have a policy to make sure that we're consistent. Okay. All those in favor of the motion to table, the motion directing staff to notify property owners and to prepare the resolutions, tabling that motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved, and I assume it'll be brought back at a different time once the policy is completed. For the next item, I will turn over the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem. Next three items.
Your Honor, I move resolution number 27493, approving partial payment number 4 for reimbursement to Morriswood Enterprises LLC regarding the Tower Terrace Road Phase 4, Winslow Road to Lennon Lane, project in the amount of $474,235,000.38.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution 27493, approving partial payment number 4 for reimbursement to Morris Wood Enterprises LLC regarding the Tower Terrace Road. I want to clarify, this is phase 6, actually. Winslow Road to Lennon Lane project in the amount of $474,235.38. Discussion. Seeing none, we'll move forward. All those in favor of resolution 27493 say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Resolution carries. Thank you.
Abstain.
And one abstention, I'm sorry. This will be community development here. This will be opening the public hearing regarding a request to vacate the easterly Indian Creek Road right-of-way easement adjacent to the Gemstone Estate, 5th edition. This will be the Morris Wood Enterprise LLC. Public hearing is now open. Is there anybody, do we need a briefing on this one?
Yeah.
Yes, this is a request to vacate the right-of-way easement along the east side of Indian Creek Road. Most of Indian Creek Road has been removed north of Tower Terrace to Lucor Road with the Gemstone 5th plat. The west side has remained as a 10-foot wide future trail. The county has had some issues with the way it's been done, and they've requested that we vacate the actual old right-of-way easement. This is like no different than you would be out in the county on a gravel road. Usually the farmer owns the center line. Because the east side's never been platted, they've always owned the center line, and vehicle access was just allowed as an easement, just like it would be in the county. So this is just a procedure to vacate the easement that's already been removed, or the road's already been removed as part of the final plat that was approved by council late last year. So a little housekeeping for the county.
Okay, very good, thank you. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to address the city council in favor of this item? Is there anyone who wishes to speak opposed or have further questions about this item? Seeing none, we'll close this public hearing.
Your Honor, I have a motion for resolution number 27494, approving vacation of the easterly Indian Creek Road right-of-way easement adjacent to the Gemstone Estates 5th edition This is by Morris Wood Enterprises LLC.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27494, approving vacation of the easterly Indian Creek Road right-of-way easement adjacent to the Gemstone Estates 5th Edition, Morris Wood Enterprises LLC. Discussion.
Yeah, I have a question, and pardon me, but what is this little blue thing right there?
That's a line I couldn't get off the image.
How many minutes?
That's just a little tail on the, I couldn't get off the image.
Oh, cute.
The rest of that is all Indian Creek?
Correct. It is all Indian Creek underneath the blue line, and then north and south of it. That little tail just, I couldn't get it deleted, so it stayed.
Mr. Jensen.
Yeah, Dave, you may want to explain why we're talking about the easement only for that blue portion and not the entire amount of Indian Creek Road going down to Lucor.
Yeah, the remaining part north toward Lucor has not been final platted yet, so we'll have to do this process one more time when that next final, that Gemstone 6th comes in, and we'll run it concurrently, so we won't have to have this extra public hearing hanging out there months later.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion from council? Seeing none, we'll move forward. All those in favor of resolution number 27494 say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
We have one no and one abstention. Resolution carries. Thank you. I will now relinquish the meeting back over to the mayor.
Thank you. Okay. We are on ordinance 19-03.
Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-03, approving rezoning from C4 warehouse commercial to PDR, planned development residential, from property at 2274 Fifth Avenue, City of Marion. Final consideration.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 19-03, approving rezoning from C4 warehouse commercial to PDR, planned development residential, for the property at 2274 Fifth Avenue. This is the final consideration. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor of ordinance number 19-03 for the final approval, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. And the motion is approved. This time we have a public hearing regarding amending Section 176.25 of the Marion Code of Ordinances to allow the sale of consumer fireworks in the I-1 Restricted Industrial Zoning District. Public hearing is now open. Does someone want to summarize that? I mean, it's pretty clear that we're voting to limit the sale of fireworks to the I-1 district. But anything else to add to that?
No, I would just, I guess I would add, by restricting it to the I-1 district, that also allows it in the I-2 district as a right. So it allows it in two districts, and those will join the two new districts we have created, the manufacturing districts that were just on the new zoning code. So when the I-1 and I-2 go away, it's already in place and approved in the M1 and M2 districts. So it's really just trying to get caught up.
Which is the gray area on your map on the screen?
Yes, correct, which is the two gray areas, the light gray being the I-1, the dark gray being the I-2. And again, just for reference, you have the airport on the east end, Walmart kind of right there in the middle, and then you can see the Hy-Vee and post office over to the west there. That's kind of the area. This is all the industrial zone property in town.
Okay. Is there anyone here to address the council in favor of this measure? Please come forward. Anyone here to address the council in opposition? Please come forward at this time. Please come forward. Please state your name and address. And if you haven't filled out the yellow card, please do so. Thank you.
I'm Jed Pastersky. I own JP Plumbing at 895 7th Avenue, Marion.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm not really that opposed to it. I have a fireworks stand that's in a commercial district, and it's brick and mortar, so I have a lot of investment. I already invested in a lot of fireworks for this year, so I have a substantial investment in it. So I kind of have to open next year. So if there's any way that maybe we can make a variance, just for mine, for brick and mortar stores, for change mine to industrial, my property into industrial zoning, something along those lines, like I'm okay with it, but I really have to open next year. I have a really sizable investment in it.
Any questions for him? Yes, go ahead.
So you have a brick and mortar for something that you're only able to sell for a very limited time through the year. That doesn't seem like that makes a lot of sense.
Right, and for most people it's not. And I run my plumbing business out of the business all year round. It's just that for that 1 month, I just open a slot in my building to sell fireworks.
But you'll still be able to run your plumbing business irrespective of what we do.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
Correct, yes.
That's all I have.
Yeah, but the sales period is only for,
A little over, it's like 1 month. June.
Yeah, it's like 3 weeks or something.
Yeah, it's not very long.
You can only
okay,
set
that's
them
right.
off for.
That's right, the selling period's, I'm sorry,
Yeah, it's very short.
3 weeks, yeah, okay.
And I bought the fireworks this year. I paid basically to a company, and they basically and I didn't sell as many as I thought I was gonna, so they gave me credit for this year. But they won't give me back my money.
And there's no other market or?
No. We did try. We tried to sell them to another, fireworks outfit or whatever, or give our credit, at a discounted even rate, but I am stuck with it. And even if we could table it until the following year, hey, I'm ready to talk about that then too, but I'm okay with it then too, but I have so much money invested, I really need it to be okay next year.
I'm sorry for my ignorance here, but what exactly are we amending? I mean, when he bought his, what were the rules then compared to our new amended?
I think,
Question again.
but
I didn't hear Paul's question.
Speak into the microphone, Paul, if you can.
I can reiterate that. Prior to this change, he's wanting to know what were the requirements of zoning for fireworks as it currently stands now.
Sure. Any C district, any commercial district in town was permitted as a retail use, and then obviously any industrial district as well currently. So it was 5 or 6 different total districts. The red on this map is the commercial districts, and that stretches from Walmart all the way to McDonald's on the west side of town, and then a few pockets along the bypass, more or less.
So it was taking it out of commercial, moving it into industrial commercial. So there was a very distinct difference.
Okay, so right now we're in the public hearings segment, so if you have questions for,
No, not for him.
I'm sorry, remind me your name again?
Jed.
Jay?
Jed, like
Jed.
Jed Clampett, yep.
If you have questions for Jed, then we can have our discussion afterwards. But go ahead.
Yeah, I have one more. What's the shelf life typically on fireworks?
They have a high turnover. The actual fireworks wholesaler that I buy them from, I only get sent so many. I can only have less than 500 pounds in my store. That's one of my rules that I have to abide by. Mm-hmm. So I sell a lot. Yeah, I sell a lot. So I have daily shipments every day because I can't keep that stockpile on site. So I have to have daily shipments. So basically we make daily orders every day, and they just bring in what I need. But I paid the money up front to get a certain discount.
But I think her question was, what is the shelf life? So how long do they last? How many years will they last?
As long as they don't get wet or damaged, and they're in a climate-controlled environment, they'll stay for quite a while, 5-10 years.
Well, and the reason I say this, I didn't catch her last name, but Jed, is because I don't know, I think that the council will likely, because of our discussion on Tuesday, will move this motion forward, but you might be in luck that the state might oversmack what we do and take away our local control and let it go back to this or some variation of it. So you might you might be pinched this year, but it might come back soon that
Oh,
things change.
that would be awful, but I really hope it doesn't come to that, because I would stand to lose a lot of money. I really do, because they won't get, if it doesn't happen this year, I won't get any of my money back either.
And do you have you would not have the option to then just get space in a gray area in a tent like a lot
Again,
of
we
other
don't make
people
any,
do?
I didn't make any money this year. I mean, basically no money this year, because because there was just so many. And it was just, and nobody made any money from everybody I talked to. And it's my fault, I get it, that I probably shouldn't have bought as much, paid for as much as I did to get that discount. But, the margins are so tight that I thought I was doing the right thing, because, I'm trying to make as much money. And if I had to rent a space in the industrial area, I'd lose money again.
Okay, Mr. Jensen, did you have a question?
My question was, what size is your investment, and how many days of sales do you think that represents from your selling season?
The selling season, it's about, well, the first year it's hard to even compare, because the first year I sold $100,000 worth. The second year I sold less than 20. So, like, it was a huge difference in money, so I thought it would be a good year again, but it was awful. It was terrible. It wasn't even worth opening. And if I didn't have that investment, I wouldn't open again. But I kind of have to. And I doubt I'll do it again, but I have to next year to recoup that money.
And yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
That's okay. You're saying next year, I just want to be clear. Are you talking about this July coming up now?
Yes, this July coming
Okay,
up. So
okay.
this year,
So
I'm
not
sorry.
next year,
My
this
fault.
year.
No, not next year. No.
Okay,
No,
thank you.
my fault. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you. Thanks, Jed.
And there's no nearby community that doesn't have the same restriction that you could
No.
sell?
No.
Mr. Sternad?
Where do you feel you need to be here? Obviously, your competition is renting space. Are these larger wholesalers?
I
that
don't
can
think
come
they'll be
in?
back this year. Nobody made money.
So being the only community that has a multi-sell and shoot, so to speak, you don't think there's going to be any business to be
I really
had
don't.
this year?
I really believe there won't be. Nobody could have made money.
I do, I respect your position here, and it's an awful position to be in. You've front-loaded, obviously, an endeavor here that's potentially at risk and is going to set you back on this, and this is, unfortunately, a terrible mistake forward buying of these items. Are you the only brick and mortar that we had in town that sold this year?
I think Walmart was the only other one.
But, as far as privately, I think
Yeah, I
you were
was the only one, yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Do you guys have any more questions?
Any other questions for him? Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, anyone else to address the council, please come forward. State your name and address, and if you haven't filled out the card, please do so.
You have my Vince Bellino Fireworks, 501 Olson Drive in Papillion, Nebraska. We also had a couple locations in Marion over the last couple of years. So 2017, the first year that it opened, we operated out of a retail tent at Fairway, and then this past year we were in Fairway's parking lot and Hy-Vee's parking lot, running the retail operation there. I believe you maybe have been given a letter I put together, prepared for you guys as well, regarding some sales statistics from the last couple of years. Just looking at economic benefit in dollars in 2017, just from our operation, there was approximately $55,000 pumped back into the local economy from the sale of fireworks from just our one retail stand. That again, that doesn't account for any other retailers in the city at all. In 2018, I would echo the previous comments that sales were down. We did have those two locations, but again, we still approximately put in about $50,000 in the local economy. This is between sales tax, commissions paid to the local operator, lease payments made to the landlords, transportation using a local Iowa trucking company, tent payments using a local Iowa tent company, inspection fees on the local level. So just in a 2-year period for the 3 locations that we operated, there was $100,000 put back into the local economy for the sale of fireworks. And some other comments just regarding restricting the use or the sale, I should say, to industrial zones. I think we probably all understand that retail fireworks, they're regulated by the CPSC. It's a consumer product. It's not an industrial product. There's a complete difference between the two of them. It is used and is supposed to be used by a consumer and purchased in a commercial zone, not an industrial zone. Again, going back to industrial, if we move this forward and we're in industrial zones, I will tell you that even though that gray area shows those are all the areas that we can be, with industrial areas in NFPA 1124, the code that regulates fireworks, we have larger setbacks compared to normal commercial areas to where we can sit a tent or a retail operation. So that would even be limited even further than that. And again, with the commercial zones and safety of a consumer, those are not set up to handle consumer traffic. That's what a commercial area is set up to do, is handle consumer traffic in and out of a particular area. So moving it is not going to do the consumer, the resident of Marion any good going to industrial areas. And lastly, I would like to distinguish the difference between sale and use of fireworks. They are completely different. Just like the sale of any other good, it's completely different than the use. I will tell you that I believe one of the reasons why we had less sales in Marion this year is because of the ordinance passed that only allowed the discharge on the 4th of July. So I believe the citizens, the residents of Marion, heard what everybody was saying, is that they need to discharge on the 4th of July and not outside of that window. I would say that's part of the reason why sales dropped. And so they are listening to you when it comes to the use of fireworks. Keeping the sale in commercial zones seems appropriate. I'd answer any questions at this time as well.
Questions?
Yes, I have some.
Go ahead.
Was your company in Marion in any citations or any violations in the last 2 years?
I don't believe so. I know there was a sting throughout the state, and our operator did pass that sting in 2017 of selling to an underage minor.
Okay. What about the manning of the tents? From what I understand on those have to be manned 24 hours. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Did you have anyone that was sleeping at their state?
Not that I know of, but that could have happened.
Okay.
It's not our policy for them to do that by any means.
Okay. Your dollar amounts that you allege that you put back into the economy, obviously your leased space goes back to corporate America, trucking firms that you're hiring to haul these obviously back and forth. Kind of give me a breakdown as to where do I see these tax dollars coming right directly back into my community from your fireworks sales.
So do you have the packet? I believe maybe you have those numbers or not.
I do not have anything in front of me.
Did you get a copy of those?
Yeah, they received them on Tuesday.
Okay. So sales tax paid in 2017 from our operation was approximately $9,300 for one tent for about a week period. Yes, that's the packet. So some other points there. In 2017, we completed 2,500 transactions at our one location. That's 2,500 residents from Marion purchasing fireworks. 2018 was about 2,800, approximately 2,800 residents. And I will tell you that the one person buying fireworks usually has other people enjoying the use. When we refer to local lease payments, we pay Hy-Vee directly. Marion store director receives that. So I don't know if you want to consider that corporate America. It is Marion. Same with Fairway. We lease from Fairway, and the corporate does not get it. The store gets that check. Typically, from Fairway's point of view, they donate it to a nonprofit after that. And then the commission's paid to a local operator. We hired a family here in town. Both years they ran our locations for us. So they receive a portion of that. They hire other staff to run the operation as well. So they're receiving those numbers directly to them. Local transportation company, it is a trucking company based out of Story City, Iowa, that hauls all of our hazardous material shipments. We've got a warehouse in Papillion, Nebraska, and in Clinton, Iowa. and they transport back and forth for us with drivers throughout the state. Tent payments, depending where we find the tent company. This tent company was out of Dubuque, Iowa. There's no tent company in Marion, but the Dubuque company services this local area, and the local inspection fee is on there as well.
And the family that operated this, that were paid the commissions, where were they from?
Marion.
Okay. All right, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you very much. Anyone else to address the council, either for or in opposition, in favor or in opposition of this measure? Please come forward at this time. Okay, the public hearing is now closed.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 19-05, approving an amendment to section 176.25 of the Marion Code of Ordinances to allow the sale of consumer fireworks in the I-1 Restricted Industrial District. Initial consideration.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 19-05, approving amendment to section 176.25 of the Marion Code of Ordinances to allow the sale of consumer fireworks in the I-1 Restricted Industrial District. This is the initial consideration, and there will be two other considerations to follow before it's finally adopted. Any discussion on this ordinance? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think as far as, this is not the first time we're talking about this change. I believe it wasn't too long after last year's 4th of July in 2018, we had this discussion up here talking about making this restriction, which is essentially the same thing that Cedar Rapids did. So when we talk about everybody making a lot less money in 2018 than they did in 2017 in Marion, if I'm correct, Fire Chief, that's because the number of operations selling fireworks was more than doubled in 2018 compared to 2017. Is that correct?
Yes, there were more vendors. Yes, that is correct.
So from that standpoint, and the other thought I had is should we consider tabling this until we hear what's going to happen with the bills that are going through, but since this takes two more readings.
I would not be in favor.
Yeah. Okay, I just was bringing it up, whether it's worth any discussion.
Oh, I agree.
Or not.
Yep, I agree, but
Okay.
Well, one at a time, so go.
So that's all I was just saying, is it worth considering? I'm bringing the idea up, not that I'm in favor of it, but just whether we want to consider that.
Okay, Mr. Sternat.
Nope, I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, you can make your comment now that you're
No,
Okay.
I have no further comment.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to add to that. The opening for the applications for the state license to sell actually opened March 1st. So a lot of the applicants are already wanting to know where they can place their stands. So just to clarify that.
That clarifies my answer. Okay, thank you.
Other discussion on this? Yes.
Is that me or you?
Ms. Cadilla.
Yeah, I just officially, since we're about to make the vote, Chief, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but what's your recommendation to the council in your professional opinion about this change, considering to restrict to industrial?
My recommendation is to pass the ordinance.
Thank you.
Well,
So just some of the statistics that were put up there for the sales, I would perceive them as there was more sales at those two tents in Marion in 18 because there was more restrictions in Cedar Rapids, so people from Cedar Rapids were coming to Marion to go to those tents, is my interpretation of why there was more sales in 18. And frankly, from my opinion on the whole thing, I'm in favor of doing that. I'm in favor of the state taking away the sale of fireworks altogether. So I'd like to see it go back to the way it used to be, not have fireworks. So that's all I have to say.
other discussion?
I guess.
Yes, sir.
I will just bring, I know council's been receiving some correspondence as well too, and even locations where fireworks were sold, and we all know what the content of those letters were too. So I just wanted to bring that up before our vote. Thank you.
Okay. I personally think that, I mean, the whole issue of sale and use of fireworks was not something we asked for, was not something our community was demanding, was not something anyone was looking for. It was thrust upon us by state law, and I think that our community, from just the general feeling in the community, I think would be supportive of this. So I'm in favor of this ordinance, and I think a lot of our business community is too. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance number 19-05, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The motion is approved.
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution number 27495, approving contract amendment number 1 with Snyder and Associates, Inc., associated with the Indian Creek Trail project in the amount of $55,739, STP-U-4775, 631-70-57. Not sure
Second.
if that's necessary, but just in case.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27495, approving contract amendment number 1 with Snyder and Associates, Inc., associated with the Indian Creek Trail project in the amount of $55,739. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion's been approved. This time we have another public hearing regarding the sale of public property located at 2254 and 2274 Fifth Avenue, Marion, to Cedar Venture LLC. The public hearing is now open. Do we have a brief synopsis of what we're doing here?
As the council will remember, back in January of 2019, we did approve, or the city council approved a purchase agreement with Cedar Ventures LLC to purchase property known as the Lacey property and the former EIC property, so I think everybody's familiar with the location. And that purchase agreement was used to facilitate the tax credit application to the state. The state has then turned around and they need a fully executed purchase agreement, and that is what's on the agenda tonight. To execute that purchase agreement, they will not close on the property at this time. They're going to wait till the state credits are awarded or not before they actually go to close. Then during that time, of course, we'll work on our development agreement and everything before. Again, these are all conditions that will occur on the sale. So we are recommending approval of the sale of public property.
Okay. Is there anyone here to address the council in favor of this measure? Anyone here to address the council in opposition? Please come forward. Good evening.
I would give her the yellow card. Tom Spratt, 2261 Fifth Avenue,
Welcome.
directly south of the property in question. I've spoken to you before on the same issue.
Yes, welcome back.
I'm not really against it because I'm a taxpayer here too, and I've seen that property is really dead weight as far as the taxpayers of Marion for the last 4 or 5 years, totally unproductive sitting over there, with the exception of Lacey Plumbing, which just sold it. But EIC has been out there for at least 4 years. So it is dead weight, and as a taxpayer, I think it should go back on the tax roll. So that's a little bit pro there, because I did put down con. My con is I don't know who this LLC outfit is, Cedar Venture LLC. I'm not sure who they are. I tried to look them up on the interweb, and I was looking for principals, client lists, prior projects that they've done that I could go out and take a look at. And I punched it up in the computer, and I did come out with a lot of information on those prior projects and client lists and bank references. But then I went to look at the projects where they were at. There was 9 of them listed, and they were all in southeast USA, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Mississippi. So I started looking at, and I looked at the letter again that I got, and I saw that I typed Cedar Ventures LLC in instead of Cedar Venture, singular. So I went back in, typed it in again with just Cedar Venture, and I did. The only thing that came up on the screen was Iowa.gov 10/19/18 last year. They did get approved for $600,000 on senior or low-income residential project. So I think that's the same. It didn't specify the location. It just said 600,000 tax credit approved by the Iowa something. I had it written down somewhere. It's some board that handles development for the state of Iowa. And so it's authority for the state of Iowa, Des Moines. And they did approve that. So my issue is the parks, as I addressed before. Of that 600,000 tax credit, which is a lot different than a deduction. That's a big thing to get the tax credit because that's up front. So my issue is if they're getting that kind of incentive, shouldn't us taxpayers get something to compensate us for buying property for the parks? Because we're looking at putting 52 family units in there, and we're going to have to pay something somewhere. I think they mentioned 31st Street for a possible customer that would sell us land for parks there. So my issue is that shouldn't there be some of that money in the purchase agreement, in the deal, back to our taxpayers to help us pay maybe 50% of the purchase price of parks in that area? So that's all I've got on that issue. So I hope we'll look into that in the future and see if we can get something in the deal and just not just have everything their way. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else here to address the council either in favor or in opposition of this measure? Please come forward now. Okay, there are none. The public hearing is now closed. Ms. Atkins.
Your Honor, I move resolution number 27496, approving sale of public property located at 2254 and 2274 Fifth Avenue, Marion, Iowa, and directing manner of execution of deeds, Cedar Venture, LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27496, approving the sale of public property at 2254 and 2274 Fifth Avenue, and directing manner of executing deeds. Discussion. I would start the discussion by just saying that I'm personally uncomfortable with just this straightforward resolution like this without an amendment or a condition that it at least requires that, you know, for the sale to happen, that to be finalized, that we have a development agreement that is acceptable to the city, that we have a project that the city wants to see on that property. The way it reads now, this resolution, by its just by a straight reading of the resolution, is just approving the sale outright, and then they could do whatever they wanted on the property if the tax credits don't go through, or if
The purchase agreement is conditional on the award of the tax credits. It's not an unconditional purchase agreement.
I know, but it's not in the resolution, so, well, so it's conditional on the tax credits, which...
Yep. And remember, with this project, the Green Street standards apply, which are in excess of any of the development standards that we have in place, or even the draft ones that we've been considering for the Central Corridor. That's what requires things like the exterior materials, the interior materials. It requires them to have the playground. It's a pretty steep hill that they have to climb in order to be able to comply with those for the state as a condition of eligibility for the tax credits.
tax credits.
Correct.
So if they don't meet those standards, so what you're saying, it's all sort of implied.
It's a requirement of the program. If they qualify for the tax credits.
If they don't meet the standards, they don't get the tax credits.
Correct.
They don't get the tax credits, then under the actual terms of our purchase agreement that's already been drafted, this sale does not go through.
Correct.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
I guess my thought, that makes me feel better, but my thought is, and you said that they're required to have a playground?
Yes.
Okay. My thought is, even just a little bit further than that, is that this is city-owned property, and this is our chance to actually decide what goes there. We never get that opportunity. So, that was, I just don't know if something could be added that, it's a project that we want to see there. So they get the tax credits for their project that meets all the standards of the state. Go ahead.
Again, since we've learned about this project, I've been in favor of it simply because it meets a housing need that this community has. So from that standpoint, I think it fits in good with the location. It meets a lot of the it's going to meet the design requirements that we have for the 6th Avenue corridor. And again, understanding the correct or proper stipulations and restrictions are going to be there based upon their qualifying for the tax credits. So that's why I would be in favor. I think it really meets an essential housing need for the city of Marion.
Well, I agree, and I think we all agree about that, and I think we all were favorable when the project was presented. I guess is there a possibility that the project could be changed without the city's okay, and that it would still meet the state standards for tax credits, and it would still pass all the hurdles, and then we'd still be bound to sell them the property? I mean, like I said, I think when it's city-owned property, this is our chance to determine what goes there and to make sure that it's what we're happy with and what we desire to go there, and that this is our opportunity, and that we ought to be happy with the project 100% before we sell the property. And so however this has to be tweaked to do that, I think it's just sort of a safeguard, in my opinion, against any kind of potential loophole or something that might. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I wanted to give you a little more comfort. This was zone plan development special. It was just one of the items just approved on the consent calendar, I believe, as well. Or plan development residential. So the council has approved this site plan. They've approved a set building elevation. So you've approved a use. And so if they want to come in and to tax, let's just say, I don't know what would happen, but something does happen and they want to do a different project.
Yeah.
Council has full authority on the site plan and the building elevation.
So we would have to approve it again.
Yeah, it would come through a recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Commission back to the council. So you have another look at this project should it even change. If this project changes physically much more than 10% on an elevation or a setback, you get to see it again. 10% change in a setback is only a foot.
Because we have seen projects where things were presented one way, and then to save costs at the last minute, materials were changed, things have been changed.
Yeah, the way it's zoned, it's coming back to the
and a
city
lot of
council.
times you don't have that ability to go back because it meets all those standards and it's their property. But this is our leverage. We have the title. It's our leverage to get the project that we can all be proud of, that we can all look at and say, look what the city of Marion has done, and have everybody be able to be proud of it. So if you're telling me that the safeguards are there, I will trust you. But yes, go ahead.
Just a question on what's the investment that's coming with this project in the city?
I personally don't know.
It's about 9.1 million.
Okay. And then how many units are there total again, and what percentage of those are for lower income? I'm sorry.
There's 50 units, 7 of them are market rate. So the remaining ones are income adjusted, but they have different thresholds. So they have to reserve so many for 60% of area median income, so many for 50, and so on down.
Okay.
I don't have the specific breakdown in front of me.
Another reason, and like the mayor and Councilman Jensen said, is this fills a need that we've been talking about based on our housing study, but even from our Tuesday presentation about the homelessness in the community, homelessness, oftentimes, you know, you think of somebody that you see who doesn't have a home at all, but there's a continuum of homelessness, and I think that having these dozens of additional spaces for people that are affordable will hopefully help be a solution to the community to address that ongoing problem. So I'm excited about the project, to be honest with you. And just a quick question on the playground. That will be open for everyone, right? Do you know? Or it's not going to be fenced or anything, correct?
No, that's a as I understand, they're fenced because of the state reg. But it's for the residents
Oh,
of the. It's a private playground, no
Okay.
different than Chapel Ridge or some of those others.
So,
You don't want it implied,
Okay.
part of the
thank you.
written contract.
That's all I have.
Agreements. That's your legal question.
Yes, Ms.
Real quick too, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but with the Central Corridor rezoning that hopefully we'll see here soon, that's what is planned for this area right here is that higher end residential. So this is what we were wanting in that area.
Yeah, I don't want it misunderstood. I'm not saying this project as it's been presented is anything that we don't want. I'm saying I don't want the ability for it to be changed.
Right.
You know, and still be within all the guidelines and rules in a way that is not exactly what we envisioned or were sold.
I think
And if an amendment, an appropriate amendment would ensure that, what could it hurt? But anyway.
And I think just to be clear, we're not talking about this specific project. We're talking about any city-owned property going forward with any type of sale.
Sure. I've said my 2 cents. But other discussion?
Yes, I would like to I want to piggyback on that one a little bit. Can we, within the resolution, can we tie that back to a contract? As sitting councils change and, you know, half of this council can be out one day and another half out the next day, you know, these projects do take time to move forward, but is there a way to make that resolution tie it back to that, and exactly at what time does ownership transfer?
I believe the closing date is in October, from what was considered by the council in January. And I think they'll hear on the tax credits probably in April.
And
And once they're awarded the tax credits, they have a limited time to use them, so that really dictates
they
the
expire
calendar
after a
after
certain
that.
period of time.
Yeah.
Lon, the development agreement that would be negotiated with the city, I mean, what are the things that you would envision going into that development agreement? What types of terms?
In many cases, the development agreement is a little bit simpler because a lot of the standards for income controls, how it has to be managed, how they decide on who's going to be allowed to be tenants are governed by the rules that come with accepting the state tax credits. But within a development agreement, we've got the ability to specify, for example, as what Mr. Hockett was talking about, we include the elevation of the building. So the expectation is that it be built in substantial conformance with what was submitted with that plan. As an agreement with the city that they're looking at us for potentially providing financial resources, the council can set the terms and conditions for whatever you'd like to have in there to ensure that it's built to the quality standards that you want. Now, in some of the ones that we've been contemplating now for projects, we've actually been looking at including materials lists so we know what they're going to specify for use of exterior materials. That doesn't mean they couldn't choose to use a different brick manufacturer or change colors, but the expectation would be is if you tell us you're going to use X number of percentage of brick, we'll put that in the development agreement.
Okay. So back to my original question. On its face, this resolution, the way it's written, that allows for those safeguards, and
They do not have a lot of
If
discretion.
we don't reach amicable agreement on the terms of a development agreement, can they still say, well, you've agreed to sell us this property, and we're going to buy it and sit on it, and do nothing with it for a while, or whatever?
They would have to be awarded the tax credits in order to be able to buy the property. That's a condition of the development agreement.
What if they decide to buy it and forego the tax credits and just sit on it?
Then I would assume at that point, if they forego the tax credits, they'd have to return the property. There would be an expectation in the development agreement. We always set deadlines for the schedule for when we expect a project to be completed, and we monitor that to make sure that they're staying on those timelines.
Does the purchase agreement say that? I mean, can it say that?
I have to look in the old council packet.
I don't mean to be, I don't want to appear like I'm trying to stop this or to be against this project. I'm not against the project. I just want to be sure that the city is protected from any unforeseen developments or changes.
While we're waiting for that, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
The gentleman's question too earlier, Dave, about that developer. That was the same developer that did the senior house behind the Casey's, correct?
Yeah, he did the initial one behind Casey's. He did the big remodel down in Cedar Rapids. It was it's the old, it's a large
The old house or building, yeah.
It's behind like Xavier, First Avenue, right off of block off First Avenue. You got Xavier's and you got a couple other restaurants there. By Co. He redid that one with Cedar Rapids, and he's got a few other pending projects in Cedar Rapids as well. So he's got a pretty good track record in the metro area, I think. So
Behind the Casey's on
Blair's Ferry
Marion
and Seventh
Boulevard,
Avenue.
Blair's Ferry, that senior home.
So to answer his question, it is Cedar Ventures.
Venture.
Yeah, Cedar Venture. I got it here.
That is the legal.
Cedar Venture LLC. He's got there's investors, of course, in this, and so I'm sure the makeup of the investors changes.
Sure.
How that's worded. Sometimes it's Landover Corp and some initial ones, and
Sure, thanks.
Is there any other discussion?
I just have a general question. I mean, Dave, you're the only one that can actually, and Lon, but I know Lon's busy. Have we ever had any other development agreements in a purchase like this that, I understand where the mayor's coming from, and I understand these agreements that are put into place, but as well too, a purchase agreement is a purchase agreement. So regardless if the credits are purchased or used or waived, they do become title holder. And then that kind of defeats the whole purpose.
Again, remember, they are the title holder, but in order for that property to be used, it is PDR. So if they wanted to bring something back that varied from it, the council has to see that and the council has to approve it. So the council has the ability to say no if you see something on that you don't like. Looking at this, the financing terms are tied to the reservation of the federal housing tax credits from the Iowa Finance Authority. They have until April 30th to receive the tax credit reservation, and then the closing is on or before October 31st. They do have the ability under the agreement to do 2 60-day extensions that they have to pay for.
60-day extensions to actually buy the property?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Other discussion? So you're comfortable that we're protected?
Yeah, if we will know on the Iowa Finance Authority award, and the company, this is what they do. If they don't get the tax credits, they would move on to another project. I'm sure they probably have multiple applications in and would not be focused on wanting to buy property that they would want to bank for a future project.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, we'll vote. All those in favor of resolution number 27496, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion's approved.
Your Honor, I make a motion to receive and file a conditional offer letter with Joe Hill regarding the Carriage Square project.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Moved by Mr. Jensen, seconded by Ms. Gadela, to receive and file a conditional offer letter with Joe Hill regarding the Carriage Square project. Discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion's approved.
Your Honor, I move to direct staff to draft a memorandum of understanding, an MOU, with Joe Hill regarding incentives associated with the Carriage Square project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to direct staff to draft a memorandum of understanding with Joe Hill regarding incentives associated with the Carriage Hill Square project. Discussion. None? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. This time we have another public hearing on the proposed amendment to the West Tower Terrace Road Urban Renewal Area, which was continued from February 21st, 2019 meeting. Public hearing is now open. We have a brief review or synopsis.
Yep, this is the West Tower Terrace Road Urban Renewal Area. As its name implies, it contains the western side of Tower Terrace Road and encompasses the area where we would be seeing the pending construction of the new regional rec facility and the new fire station. In addition, we also have a project that the city has under MOU with Synergy Equity Partners to assist with the recruitment of targeted retail or targeted restaurants out to a new facility that they're building in that area. And so this gives the city the authority to issue bonds for those using the reverse referendum process.
Okay, is there anyone here to address the council in favor of this measure? Please come forward. Anyone here in opposition? Please come forward at this time. Okay, and have we received any comments
The only comments
outside this meeting?
Yeah, the only comments that we had received was we received a letter or an email from the county auditor's office that they didn't have any objections to it. And then we had received some comments from Linn-Mar School District at the consultation session, again indicating no opposition to the projects.
Okay. Okay. Seeing that there's no further comments from the public, we will close the public hearing. Grant?
Yes, Your Honor. Make a motion to approve resolution number 27476, approving the urban renewal plan amendment for the West Tower Terrace Road Urban Renewal Area.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27476, approving the urban renewal plan amendment for West Tower Terrace Road Urban Renewal Area. Discussion. None? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 27476, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. At this time, we have a public forum, which is time set aside for comments from the public on topics other than anything that was listed on the agenda. If there's anyone here to address the council on any topic that wasn't on the agenda, please come forward at this time. This is the time to do that. You're welcome to come forward. Okay, seeing that there's none, we will move on to our council discussion time. We'll start with Councilwoman Gadela.
Okay, the only thing I have is just a congratulations to Nick Glue and staff at Medco for the annual luncheon. It's always great, but this one in particular, I felt like it was different. It was the interaction, there were a lot of speakers. Of course, it's always great to have the students there, particularly when they're given a platform. So the community promise was anecdotally supported, and I just thought the overall event was great for the city. That's it.
Well,
I just wanted to officially congratulate the Marion girls basketball team on a wonderful year. They went to the state tournament, made it to the championship game, and unfortunately came up 1 point short of winning second state championship. But they had a fantastic season. I hope they hold their heads up high. And then congratulate the boys also from Marion who made the tournament. Unfortunately lost by 2 in the first round of the tournament, but it's still great to get to state. So congratulations to the Indians. That's all I have.
I have nothing, Your Honor. Thank you.
Steve? I just say, I think in the next 12 to 18 months, it's going to be a very exciting time to be on city council and to live in Marion. I think the budget we just passed represents a trend of what we're going to see of additional investment by the city, capital investment. We're doing the investment in personnel in fiscal year 20. And more importantly, I think we're continuing to become a much better city in doing our planning. So we're going to be talking about putting in a 5-year financial plan. Everybody here knows how I feel about that. And to me, that gives me a level of excitement that this city is going to be moving forward in a much better planned, controlled manner. We're going to be spending a lot of money, but I feel very good about the process, and everything that's going to be going forward is going to be much better than it has been in the past. So to me, all of that is kind of condensed into that budget and represents a much better way for this city to continue to grow. That's all.
Thank you.
Nothing.
Okay. Paul. We know Paul always has something.
Well,
Paul.
I'll speak into the mic. First thing I'd like to thank my fellow council person and the chief and Lon. I've gotten an age where the heart is kind of a problem, and I have this heart pump, and when it signals, it goes along with the age of my ears. I don't hear the dang thing, so everybody else heard it. So it just took a little adjustment. The chief has learned how to do that, and the city manager, so we were able to continue. The other thing I'd like to talk about historically is that this week with Ash Wednesday, the first one was 1852, which occurred at 610 10th Street, which is a building very dear to my heart, which was in fact the Presbyterian Church. And it remained that until the 1870s when they built the new building that is now on the National Registry. But the rear part of 610 10th Street and the pew in the hallway is all part of a church that was built in 1852, and something that Paul Draper in his time on this earth will be very proud to own and to continue to keep up. So that's all I have, Your Honor.
That was short, Paul. Okay, for my part, I want to say that I'm thrilled to see the measure on relocating the houses moving forward to the next step. And the fact that it's moving along uneventfully, I think, is wonderful. It says a lot, again, about who we are as a community and what we feel about the history of our community and how important it is to our future. So I just want to thank everyone for their support of that. I think it's going to be something we can all point to, as a real point of pride that our city, our council, our staff, all of us as a city organization have promoted, and it's going to make us stand out, and it already has. If you look at the comments that have been made statewide just from our last discussion on it, it already has made us stand out as a city that's doing things right. So it'll be a nice moment when we have the final approval of that MOU. Been receiving a lot of positive reaction to the state of the city. I think this year it was broadcast. We didn't even know it, but the videographer live streamed it live. The entire video is on the city website. Almost the entire text of the speech has been printed in the Marion Times, and so everybody in the city has had a chance to see the State of the City speech, and it's received great, really positive feedback and positive response. It's been received well by the residents, and that's, it's just a testament to everything that everyone is doing here throughout the city, and all the great collaboration and work that's been happening. And again, we should all be proud of what we did in 2018 and look forward to moving even higher in 2019. So on that, I have also some reaching higher recognitions. First one is our staff and City Council for the great work and collaboration in putting together the budget. As Councilman Jensen alluded to or said, we are being so much more planful, so much more methodical in everything that we do. And I think, we have raised the bar for ourselves in terms of how we do things, how we look at things. And, that whole discussion on the Cedar Venture project, that's part of that. It's pushing us to just make sure that we're doing everything in the absolute best way that we can for the residents, for Marion, and that we can always point to whatever we did and say that was our best effort and our best product. And I think on the budget process, I really saw that come out this year, and the staff that worked so hard on coming back with draft after draft and reworking the numbers and trying to figure things out so that it worked. We really appreciate it, and so I just want to recognize the staff and the council, everyone collaborating together. We did reach higher in that effort. I think we've taken it to a new level, and I really appreciate that, and I wanted to recognize that. I want to recognize Hy-Vee for reaching higher, because they are a model of corporate citizenship in this town. They are part of everything we do. They give so much to the community. They give so much to the city. When we didn't have anybody come forward to do the food portion of Encore Cafe, I just asked the question of, why aren't you guys doing this? And then they jumped in and started offering the food portion of Encore Cafe. Otherwise we wouldn't have had the successful program that we have now with these meals that are put together by a nutritionist that are done so well, and the variety and the quality of food. And they're always part of the community, and they're just a model corporate citizen. So I want to just commend Hy-Vee of Marion and recognize them for reaching higher with us. Finally, one of our council members I'd like to recognize. There's a model leader of a community is a good community member first. And Will Brandt, I just over and over recognize and realize that he's just a good citizen, a good member of the community. And he is on every committee. He's involved in so many things. He's leading one of the Imagine Next committees. He's always at every community event. He's there cheerleading for everything that's going on. And to me, that's what makes good leaders of the community. Their heart is in the right place, and I've said before, I feel that way about the entire council, but I just wanted to single out Will. I think he really does put out a lot of effort to be a good community member, which makes him a great community leader. So thanks for reaching higher, Will. Thank you. Right. With that, our meeting is complete, and we'll adjourn the meeting. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.